PHP tutorial, we'll be covering what is PHP, why you should learn PHP in 2018, and then we'll go over the basic fundamentals of the programming language of PHP. So without much further ado, let's get started. So let's cover the basics first now. So what exactly is PHP? Well, PHP, as you guys already might know, is a server-side scripting language, which is a very powerful language for making dynamic and interactive web pages. Now before we move ahead, let me tell you that PHP actually stands for Hypertext Preprocessor, which is a recursive acronym for PHP. Then it is also open source and free to use, and even though it's a language that can do almost everything a programming language can do, it is mostly used for server-side logic, which means when you go ahead and click on that login button on your Facebook login page, the logic that lets you allow to get into your account is what PHP is doing. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what exactly you can do with PHP. So these are the four major things that you can do with PHP. So firstly, you can create dynamic and beautiful web pages. You can collect data from a form that has been created in HTML. You can use it for data encryption. And last but not the least, out of the many functionalities of PHP, you can use PHP to create a simple CRUD application, which stands for create, read, update and delete. Okay, so that tells us what you can actually do with PHP. Now, some of you might be wondering, why should I actually learn PHP in a year like 2018 where there are multiple alternatives available? First of all, you must consider that PHP is a widely used and extremely flexible language. It has found uses for small websites, from ranging to small businesses for bicycles and stuff, and even big businesses like Wikipedia and Facebook are using it. So when you know that something like Facebook, which is a tech giant, is using PHP for its backend, it's a pretty solid language that can handle millions and millions of data. Now PHP is also very compatible with multiple server types like Apache and other TLS servers. It is also compatible with multiple database types like PostgreSQL, MySQL and NoSQL. Then to top it off, it's free to use and it's extremely easy to learn. Now if you're a thriving web developer or you want to get into web development, PHP is surely the way to go if you want to have any success in this field. Okay, so now that I've told you why you should learn PHP, what importance PHP has in 2018, let's go ahead and go through some of the basic fundamentals of PHP now. Now, don't worry, because for the next 5 minutes, I'm just going to be showing you slides based on the syntaxes of PHP. We are also going to be coding our very own PHP scripts at the end of this video. So if you think this video is going to be all slides and no code, that's completely wrong. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that we are going to learn in PHP is how to declare a variable. Now if you don't know what a variable is, because probably you're coming from a non-computer science background with no prior experience in programming, well, a variable is a name given to a memory location on your RAM so that you can store a certain value in it. Now consider this blue thing out here, the RAM that is in your computer, and we want to store this age inside. So we are going to name this memory location age, and the value it's going to store is going to be 22. Now how you do that in PHP is basically say $ and then the name of the variable, which is age out here, and then you assign the value with the equals to operand, and then you go, this value is 22. Okay, so that was variables. Now aside from variables, we can also define constants, and constants are things that don't change their value over time. So something like the value of pi is a constant. So to define a constant, we use the define keyword, and then we set the variable name, or the constant name in this case, and then the value of the constant, which is 3.1415926 in this case. Okay, now there are 5 types of data types in PHP. Firstly, it's integers, which is basically a number without any decimal point. Secondly, is float, which are numbers that have multiple decimal points in them. Next is strings, which is basically a sentence or a array of words. Then the fourth type is boolean, which is a binary of true and false. And the last type is undefined, and that is when you do not actually give any definition to a variable or a constant for that matter. Okay, so we also have arrays in PHP. Now if you don't know what an array is, well, it is a data structure that contains a list of elements, and most of the time these list of elements are common in nature. Now these elements are mostly of the same data type when talking in computer science terms. So an array of integers will mostly carry only integers. Now, I've already defined an array just for an example. So first of all, you define an array like this in PHP. You say the array name with a $sign. Then you use the array pre-built function, and then you can put in your array elements. Out here I've put the words eclairs, Mars and KitKat, which are some of my favorite chocolates. Next we have also functions. Now functions are of two types, predefined functions and user-defined functions. Predefined functions already come pre-built in PHP. So something like the date function, which we will be seeing its usage while we are coding some PHP of our own, is a predefined function. And a user-defined function is something like this, which I've wrote out here. So I've made a function out here which adds two numbers and returns it. Now these are the parameters that it takes. Now num1 and num2 are the parameters, and add numbers is the name of the function. Now functions are a beautiful way to actually reuse code and make your code much more modular. Next we also have conditional statements in PHP. Now there are three types of conditional statements. First is the if statement, then is the if else statement, and then is the switch statement. We'll go through all of them when we are actually coding. Now this is just for the theoretical part. So if statements or conditional statements for that matter are used when you need to perform a certain condition in your code. So suppose you were saying that you're making a application for betting. Now in a betting situation, you are normally comparing who won the bet, right? So this is a good example of when you would use a conditional statement. Now we also have iterators in PHP. There are three kinds of iterators or loops in PHP. The first is the for loop, the second is the while loop, and the third is the do while loop. Now iterators are basically used when you need to actually repeat a specific block of code again and again in your software. So we'll see how we do that. So this is how you actually define a while loop in PHP. You go while, then the condition of the loop, and then you're looping code. Now while loops are entry control loops, as you might already know, and a while loop always checks the condition before actually executing the loop code. Now the same can be said for a do while loop, which is an exit control loop. Now this is how you define a do while loop. You go with the do keyword, then the loop code, and then the while condition. Now you have to realize this is called an exit control loop because the condition is checked when exiting the loop. So the loop will for sure at least execute once. Then we also have the for loop, which has three parts. First is the beginning or the initialization part, where you initialize the iterating variable. Then the condition, where you are checking for a condition where you can exit from the loop. And then the step, which is the steps that the loop will iterate through. So if you say I equals to I plus 2, for example, this I will always increase by 2. And inside the brackets, you are going to specify your looping code that you want to iterate throughout. And the last thing that I want to cover for the basics is switch statements. Now switch statements are also a type of conditional statements and are used to compare an expression. Now in this case we are trying to compare if expression is equal to case 1, case 2, or a default case where it doesn't match case 1 and case 2. So if out here expression matches case 1, this code of block after the colon of case 1 is going to be actually executed. If it doesn't match any one of case 1 or case 2, the default block is executed and then the switch block is completely exited. So that was all about programming and how stuff is actually generalized and initialized in PHP. Now that was all the basic syntax of PHP. Now let's get into the beef of PHP by actually coding some of our own. Okay, now if you remember, I had told you guys that PHP is a server-side language. So this means to actually deploy our PHP scripts, we need a local server. Now for my local server, I have already installed XAMPP and I'm serving an Apache server on my computer locally. And you can do the same by just downloading XAMPP and going through the configurations. I'll let you figure that out on your own. So let me just show you what I've created. So firstly, I have my Apache server running, as you can see, on port number 80443. And if you go into my files, you'll see that I have an index.html page created. So this is basically a form. Now let me just show you this form. So this is what the form looks like, and we are going to be using PHP to gather some data from this. Now if you remember, I had also told you that PHP is a fantastic language for gathering form data from HTML. So let's go ahead and see how we can do that. Okay, now I've already created this script.php. Let's go ahead and open it with Sublime Text. Now let me just delete everything. Let's save it. And let me also show you this index.html. So basically it's the form inside the table, and it's a student registration form just like I showed you. So first of all, PHP is embedded in normal HTML codes. So let me just show you how to do that. So you first of all create your HTML boilerplate, and let's say this is called PHP demonstration. Right. Now to begin your PHP code, all you have to do is open up your PHP tag, which goes something like this, and you close off your tag like this. All your PHP code is going to come in between these tags. Now let's firstly show you how to comment in PHP. So this is how you post single line comments. This is also a single line comment, and this is how you post multi-line comments. Now if I were to just press enter, you'll see that the comment is not broken out. Okay, so that's how you do multi-line comments. Let's go ahead and re-indent my lines. Okay, so that was how you comment in PHP. Now let's do a simple hello world in PHP too. So to print out stuff using PHP, you go echo, and then you just use double quotes and say, let's say h1 hello world. So since our output is going to be on a web page, we are going to use markup to actually output our stuff. So you say h1, you close off your tag, and all your PHP statements are going to be ending with a semicolon, which is going to be your statement terminator. Now let's go ahead and open up our local host, and you just go /script.php. Okay, so our script.php is being served on our local host, and as you guys can see, it's printing out hello world. Now if I were to just change this to a p tag and a p tag here, you would see the difference. So see, our hello world has now changed into a paragraph. Okay, now I had also spoken about predefined functions, and date is a very much used predefined function in PHP. So you can print out the date using PHP. So let me just tell you some of the formats you can print out your date in. So let me make a multi-line comment first. So these are the parameters you are normally going to pass into your date function. So let me just list them out for you. So firstly, you can say H to print out your date in 12-hour format. You can also go capital H for 24-hour format. Then you can use the I flag for the minutes, the S flag for the seconds, the U flag for microseconds. Then for A, we'll give you lowercase AM or PM. Then capital I will give you full text for the day. Then capital F will give you full text of the month, and J will give you the day of the month, and capital S will give you suffix for the date like first, second or third or something fourth, something like that, and Y will give you the year in 4 digits, right? So let's keep this in mind when printing out our date. Now to print out a date, you can simply go echo and say date, because it's an inbuilt function, and you are just going to pass in these parameters that I just showed you to print out whatever you want. So suppose we want to print out the hours in 12 hours format, we also want the minutes, we also want the seconds, we also want the microseconds, and let's say we want the full text of the month. I also want the full text of the day, and that's it. Let's save this, let's serve it now. Okay, so you see it shows according to my computer it's October 1st, and this is the time up till whatever we had specified. So that's how you print out the date using PHP. Now I had also told you that PHP is a fantastic language to collect form data. Now I've already created a form out here, and that can be served on our local host. So we have the student registration form where we take in the student name, the grade that they're in, the section that they're in, and also the class teacher's name. Now in our index you see that these have already been given a name. This name attribute is going to be used in PHP. Now you can access the values from the HTML that called this PHP script to execute, putting the names assigned in the HTML in single quotes. Now these are normally stored in an array called post. So let me show you how that's done. So first of all, let's remove all this. Now let's create a few variables. So to create variables, you use the $sign and say student name. That is going to be the name of our variable. Now our stuff is going to be stored in the post array, and this is going to be called student name in the HTML. And we always have to end our PHP with a semicolon. Now let me just copy this out a few times. So first of all we have grade, then we have section, and we also have teacher, right? Now this is called grade in our HTML. This is called section in our HTML, and this particular thing is called teacher name in my HTML, right? Okay, so now to print out stuff, let's see. Echo, first of all, we are going to be saying h1 student information, right? Then we also want to echo whatever student information that we've already collected. Now we can use the dot operator or the full stop to actually concatenate a variable with a string. So this is how you do it. So suppose you want to say student name is, so space, then dot, and just specify the name of the variable that actually contains the student name, which is student name in this case. Then you can also say he is in whatever grade that you want to put him in. He's in grade, and let's put a space, and then the dot operator, and you can say something like, so basically we're going to say grade out here, then you go echo, and then you want to print out the section. He studies in section and space, and then the dot operator, and you want to say section. And echo, we also want to print out his teacher. He is dot by the teacher by, rather just leave it as space and a dot and then teacher, right? Now every time somebody submits, script.php is going to be run because that's the action that we have specified, and the method is going to be post. So let's save this, let's reload our page, and let's put in some data. So my name is Arya Paul, I'm in the 8th grade, which is section A, and my class teacher's name is Mr. Roy. So once you hit submit, okay, so it says unexpected echo, expecting, so on line 18. So let's see line 18. Okay, yeah, so see, I had forgotten to put a semicolon here, so that's why we got that error. So let's go back again, and let's submit it. Now you see, the student name is Arya Paul, he is in grade 8, he studies in section A, and he is taught by Mr. Roy. So now that was all in one line, and that kind of looked a little ugly. So all you have to do is just say /br. Let's copy that and put it everywhere. Let's put it here too, and let's put it here too. Let's save it, let's reload it. Okay, so as you guys can see, just ignore this part. The student name, okay, let's go ahead to our local host and just give in some student names. So Arya in grade 8 in section A and taught by Mr. Roy. So you submit that, and now we have our information in a neat manner. So our student name is Arya Paul, he's in grade 8, he studies in section A, and he is taught by Mr. Roy. Nice. So that is one way to collect data from a form. Now let me show you some other way that you can actually output this. Let's remove this for now, and let's see. You can say let's create a string, and now you can use the EOD method. So for that you go EOD, go student name is student name, and he or she is in this grade in section, and then the name of the section, and he or she is taught by teacher. And to end your end of document, all you have to say is EOD and then a semicolon. Let's just reload this to localhost, and let's put in some values. Now you can use the end of document to actually say output everything in one string. Then all you have to do is go ahead and echo your string. So you say echo string and you end your statement. Let's save this. Now let's go back to our local host. Let's input some data, and let's see if it actually gets outputted the way we want it to. So as you guys can see, it's saying student name is Arya and he or she is in 8th grade in section A, and he or she is taught by Mr. Roy. Now that's a very intuitive way of actually outputting your stuff using PHP. So that's the EOD method. Okay, now let me show you how to define constants. So let the stuff be here for now. Now let's define a constant. You can use the define keyword for that. Go define. Let's say you want to define a thing called pi, and it's going to have a value of 3.14156. Right. Let's not forget a semicolon. Now to just output this, you want to say the value of pi is, and then the dot operator, and all you need to say is pi. Let's save that. Okay, so now you see, just ignore all this part because it says undefined on line 10 because this is not needed anymore. Let's comment that out. Let's save it again. Okay, now you see that the value of pi is 3.14156. So that's how you define a constant, and that's how you output a constant. Now we can also do simple arithmetic operations in PHP. So let me just show you how to do that. So echo, let's see, you can say 5 plus 2 equals, you put the dot operator and then you just say 5 plus 2. So let's see how that works. So 5 plus 2 equals 7. Now let me just show you all the different types of operations that you can do. So firstly, you can do minus, subtraction, you can do multiplication. Let me just show that with an X instead of a star. Then you can do division, and you can also do modulus. Modulus means it'll give you the remainder. So you go 5 minus 2, 5 multiplied by 2, 5 divided by 2, and 5 modulus 2. Let's save that. Let's run that. Okay, now this will all be printed in one line, so to avoid that, let's give them a break line. So just say BR. Let's just copy that and paste it everywhere. So now that we've pasted it everywhere, save it, let's run it, and as you guys can see, we have the output. So 5 minus 2 is 3, 5 multiplied by 2 is 10, 5 divided by 2 gives 2.5, and 5 modulus 2 is 1. Now if you realize, PHP automatically realizes that this is a float. That is because it's an interpreted language. It's a scripting language. Okay, so that was all about arithmetic operations. Now you can also cast from one type to another. So let me just show you how that can be done. So let's say you want to print out 5 divided by 2 as an integer. Now you can also cast from one type to another in PHP. So suppose you wanted to print out 5 divided by 2 as an integer. All you have to do is say integer before your output, and now this will be actually converted into an integer. So now it says 2.5, and now watch as I reload, it says 2. So that's how you can convert stuff to an integer, or back and forth. Now you can also use shortcuts when performing an operation. So suppose you wanted to say 5 plus 5, let me just delete all this first of all, let's comment that out, and I want to say 5 plus 5. So you could just say 5 plus equals 2, right? Let's save that. Now you can also use shortcuts when performing operations on the same variable. So let me just comment out the shortcuts for you first. So you can use the shortcuts like these, so plus equals to, or you can use minus equals to, then you could use multiplication equals to, or division equals to. So let me just show you how that's done. So let's just create a variable called rand number, and this is going to be equals 5, and we want to increment this by 5 again. So all you have to do is say echo rand num, say plus equals 5. So this will just add 5 to a random number. Now all you have to do is just open this in your PHP. So as you guys can see, random number equals 10. Now you could also do multiplication, so now this will output 25, or you could do division, so this will print 1, or you could do modulus, so this will print 0. Okay, so that's how you use shortcuts in PHP. Now you can also use increment and decrement with this shortcut. So let me just show you how that's done. So you go echo and you say plus plus rand num. So let me just show you the difference between post increment and pre increment, which is a pretty important concept in computer science. So you say plus plus rand num. Let's not forget to add the line break. Yeah, so that's adding the line break. And let's copy this down, and let's do, so this one out here is called pre-increment, and this is called post-increment. Now pre-increment will actually increment the number before printing it, so let me just show you how that works. Undefined variable random. Okay, I have to use num out here. I'm sorry, I got the variable name wrong. Okay, so random equals 6, and since it's already become 6, this should have actually printed 7. But since it's a post increment, it'll print out the number and then increment it. Now if I were to just go ahead and echo random, you'll see that it's already been turned to 7. Okay, sorry, I got the name of the variable wrong again, and this should be equal to 7. Yep, so that was just the basic difference between pre-increment and post-increment. Now you can also store the reference to an operator or a variable, and you can do that with the ampersand sign. So let me just show you how that's done. Let's remove all this. Actually, let's keep this part because we'll be using that part later on. Now you'll see, let's say we're going to say this is a reference to a number, and we need our random again. So random is going to be equals to 5. Our reference to number is going to be ampersand and then the name of the variable. So reference to number is actually a reference to random. Now if you were to go ahead and change random equals to 100 now, and you were to echo out the reference to a number, so let me just show you how that's done. So ref to num is going to be equals to, so this is going to be equals to 100 now. Okay, I think I missed something again. Yep, I missed this, and reference to number has been successfully changed to 100. Now whatever I change random to is what reference to our number is going to change to. So this is basically how pointers also work in different languages. Okay, now let's move ahead with conditional statements. So I had told y'all that conditional statements are used to decide a certain condition. So let's keep two variables. So let's call this min now, and let's call this max. So max is obviously going to have a bigger number. Now let's compare. If let's say min is less than max, what we want to do is say echo, let's put an h1, max is the biggest number. Okay, so this was one form of if statement. Let me just run that. Okay, line 22. Yep, I forgot my semicolon again. I'm so sorry, I'm very bad with semicolons. Yeah, so it says max is the biggest number. Now let's change min to 10, and let's change max to 5. Now you'll see that nothing is actually being printed because this condition is not being met. But if we go else, we can say echo h1, max is not the biggest number. Let's close off our h1, and let's also not forget the semicolon this time. Now you'll see it's going to print out max is not the biggest number, which means that the else block got executed. So this is how you actually use conditional statements in PHP. Okay, so let's go through some more conditions. Now else if is used when you have to check more than one condition. Now let me just show you how that's done. Okay, let's remove all this. Now let's say you went grocery shopping and you want to buy a bunch of chocolates, or let's keep them fruits. So you want to buy oranges and you bought around 40 oranges. Okay, and you also thought that let's buy some bananas because they're full of potassium and I really need them. So you bought 35 bananas. Now the grocery store has a cashback on their bill. So let me just put out the grocery store cashbacks. Now let's say if orange is greater than 25, and now there are also stuff like this. Wait, if you are used to programming, let me just show you. And is used to actually show the AND situation, which is basically the AND gate. Then you can represent the OR gate through pipes, and you can also do it with NOR, which is basically negation. So these are the type of binary operators that we have, and you can use them in PHP too. So let me just show you the conditions. So let's put a condition also that banana has to be greater than 30. Now if you guys are looking at the code, you must have already realized that this is the block that is actually going to be executed. So you say 25% cash back on the bill. Let's end our statement. But I also want to show you how to put multiple stuff. So you go else if, let's just copy this down. So if oranges are more than 30 and bananas are more than 35, let's say you're gonna have a 15% cash back on the bill. So echo 15% cash back on the bill. Or let's put another condition to check. So if oranges are more than, or rather, let's see, you can also say something like if oranges are less than 5 and bananas are also less than 5, you can say there's going to be a 1% cash back on the bill. And then you can finally say else. That is going to always be your final statement. You can say no cash back on the bill. Now I've forgotten my semicolon here. So let's just execute this for the sake of executing. Okay, on line 28, so 28, undefined variable, orange. Okay, orange had a capital O, so that's why this is giving an error. Let's save that. Okay, oranges. Let's just make it orange out here. And as you see, our first block of code got actually satisfied. So oranges are definitely more than 25 and bananas are definitely more than 30, and that's why we get a 25% cash back on the bill. Okay, so that was how you go through multiple conditional statements. Now you can also use ternary operators. So let me show you how to use ternary operators in PHP. Well, ternary operators are used something like this. So first of all, let's say max is equals to, say, 15 greater than 10. So is that true? If that is going to be true, then our value assigned will be 15 and or the value assigned will be 10. So let me just explain how this works. First we are going to check this statement. Now max is equals to 15 or 10. So how is this going to be decided? If 15 is greater than 10, which is indeed true, 15 is going to be assigned. Now else 10 is going to be assigned, right? Let's save this. And we want to echo max also. Echo max. So max is 15 at this moment. Let me just make this 5 and max will now turn to 10. So that's how you use ternary operators in PHP. Now the other kind of conditional statement that I want to go through and we had also discussed is switch. So let's say switch. So this is how you define switch. Now whatever is going to be switched inside. So first let's see. Let's call it random again. Now let's give random equals 5 and we are going to switch around random. Now all you have to do is set cases. Now let's say case 3. If it's case 3, all you want to do is echo random number is equal to, use a dot operator and you say random, and let's not forget to put in the break and semicolon. Now to break out of this case you also need to use the break keyword. Let's indent our lines. Yep. Now let's put some more cases. Copy that down, paste it multiple times. So this is going to be case 4, this is going to be case 5, and case 6. Okay, so let's remove these. So out here is going to be equals to 3, out here is going to be equal to 4, out here is going to be equals to 5, and out here is going to be equals to 6. Now just in case nothing matches, we also need a default case. So case default is going to be, let's say, let's copy that down, let's paste it, and random number no case matched. Since that is done, let's put in a semicolon, and you don't need to actually break out of case default because that's the last case and you're inevitably going to break out of the switch statement. Now, according to our logic, case 5 is going to run. Okay, so let's save that and let's reload. I think syntax unexpected default. Okay, so yeah, we don't use actually the case keyword when going with default. Let's save that again. That was a silly error. Now you can see random number is equals to 5. Now if I were to go and say random number is equals to 0, default case should be matched. So you see, no case matched. And that's how you use switch statements in PHP. Okay, so that was all about conditional statements and how to use them in PHP. So now let's move on to iterators. So let's remove this completely. So iterators, as I had already discussed, is used when you want to iterate a block of code for yourself. So let's see how that's done. So let me just define a number first of all. So let's say var equals 0. So that's a variable called 0. Now all I want to say while our variable is less than 20, what we want to do is echo out variable. Let's not forget the breaks. And we also want to do increment variable, so var plus plus. Let's go ahead and see. Yep, we go from 0 till 19 because we said it's going to be less than 20. Now if I were to just go ahead and say less than equals 20, it'll also print 20 for us. Yep, and that's how it's done. Now we could use the same logic for a for loop. So in a for loop, all we have to do is this. So for, let's say, variable equals 0, and let's say our variable is going to be less than equals to 20, and the step of our variable is going to be just plus plus. So you could say var equals to var plus 1, or you could just simply say var plus plus. That's the same thing. Now you want to increment. All the thing is done. Now all you want to do is set up your code that you want to show out here. So all you want to echo is your variable, so var, and let's not forget the line break after all. Put that in double quotes and let's end our statement. Now you see it's going to be the same thing. Yup, so just to give you guys a difference, let's print this till 10. And now we have the same thing till 10 using a for loop. Now let me show you how to use a do while loop. So you go do, then your code, so, and then the while condition. Right, so that's how it's done. What do you want to do? Let's say we have a variable called var and it's equals to 0 again. Now all you want to do is echo variable, and you also want to increment variable, so var plus plus. There shouldn't be any space, that's a semicolon, and you want to do this till, let's say, variable is less than or equals to 30. Save that. Let's see. Yep, now we have it till 30. Now what I want you to understand that this loop will at least execute once. Now let's say I think it's 31 already, so this shouldn't actually execute, but it will. So let me just show you that. So yep, it prints 31. Now since it's 31, this condition out here will return a false, but since our do comes before, it's always going to execute once. So this is why do whiles are called exit control loops. Okay, so that was all about iterating. Now let's move on to arrays. Okay, so to set an array, as I just showed you, I had an array of chocolates in the PowerPoint presentation that I had showed you. So chocolates will be equals to array, and it's going to take in the members. So let's say Toblerone, then I really love Twix. Mars is also a really delicious chocolate, and how can you forget eclairs? So this is how you set up an array. So to access the members of an array, this is how you do it. So echo, let's say I love space and $ chocolates. So you just mention the index number, and that's how you specify what you want to access. So let's see what this prints out. So it should print out I love Toblerone. So it prints out I love Toblerone. Now if I were to just change this to 2, it'll say I love Twix, or I love Mars actually, because 2 is what Mars is. So it says I love Mars. And that's how you use arrays. Now you could also cycle through the array with the for or for each. So let me just show you that. So suppose you want to print out all the members of the array. So you could go for each chocolates as sweets, and you just want to print out sweets. So sweets is just a random variable which is going to be used to access the members of the array. So you could say echo sweets, and let's put a line break, save it, and this should print out all the chocolates that we've stored. So Toblerone, Twix, Mars, and Eclairs. That's how you use the for each statement in PHP. Okay, so in PHP you can also create key value pairs. So let me just show you how to do that again. So let me first delete this. So let's create a student array now. So student is going to be array, and it's going to take in student name as the key, and it's going to pair it to student name. And then we can also take the grade and pair it to the grade keyword. Yeah, so that's how you do that. So these have created a key value pairs. So to cycle through this, let me just uncomment this first. Let's remove this. We are going to be using grade and student name, so let's uncomment that out, save it. And so what we want to say is for each, so student as key and value, you want to say echo, you want to echo the key, let's put a colon, and then you want to put the value, and that's it. And let's not forget the line break. Okay, unexpected, this thing in line 19. Let's go to line 19. What are you expecting? Okay, I forgot my semicolon here. Okay, so this is what it's going to do now. So let's go back to our form, and let's say Arya is in 8th grade, 3rd section, and Mr. Roy. Let's submit this, and says student name is Arya and his grade is 8. Now suppose we had a bunch of student names and a bunch of grades. It's going to print out all of them. Now you can also concatenate two arrays. So let me just create two arrays for you. So let's put in the chocolates array again, and let's put in some members. So this is going to have Toblerone, and this is going to have Mars, and it's going to have Twix. It's also going to have, let's put another thing, Eclairs. Yeah, that was one. Now let's also create a student array. Let's remove this key value pairs, put a bunch of student names, Arya, let's say Prerna, Asana, and another best friend of mine from college, Achint. So these are just two arrays that I've created, and we can concatenate them very easily. So to concatenate them, all you have to say is, let's say new array is equals to chocolates plus student, and for each, let's go through all the elements. So new array as, let's say we're just going to call them element, and you want to echo out all the elements. So echo element, and then the line break, so that looks neat. Let's not forget our semicolon. Have we forgotten semicolon somewhere else? Nope. Let's comment this out because we don't need them anymore. Save it, and let's run it. Okay, expected this on line 25. Okay, I forgot to end. I deleted the PHP tag. Okay, so that was a mistake. Okay, so it says Toblerone. Repeat. So that was all about associative arrays and how you can use them in PHP. Now some of the more common array operators that I use are equal to, which basically checks if both the arrays are the same. Now let's see how you can do that. So let's create two arrays. Let's say this is another array. Let me just show you. So you say student, and it's going to be an array of student names. So Arya, say Paul, let's say Prerna. Now let's create another thing called names, and this is also going to be an array, and it's going to take in the same things basically. So let's just copy this down. So if you go and say if student equals to names, you want to echo out arrays are the same. Okay, I forgot my semicolon again. Save that. On line 11. What is there on line 11? Okay, yeah, let's comment these out. So now you see that the arrays are the same. Now some other operators you can use with arrays is not equals to. So if this is not equals to, then now it will just not print anything because both the arrays are the same indeed. And let's switch these around. Let's call this Paul and let's call this Arya, and let's check if they're still equal. Now they're not equal, so this part is also not executed. So that's how it's done. Now you can also create multi-dimensional arrays. So let me just show you how to do that. So multi-dimensional array. So let's see. Let's create an array called student. Just gonna say array, and an array, a multi-dimensional array is basically an array inside of an array. So you can do that again. So go array, and let's say Arya, he lives in Bangalore, and some 5. 5 is, let's say, a roll number. Now you have to put a comma out here, and you can do this again and again. Copy that down. Let's say this is Jeet, he is from Chandigarh, and then we also have Upasana, who's from Mumbai. Let's give these guys some random numbers also, 8, and this is, and Upasana's a 10. Let's end our array, and let's semicolon that out. So this is how you define a multi-dimensional array. So let me just show you how you can cycle through a multi-dimensional array. So say for row is equals to 0 and row less than 3 because there are 3 characters, and row plus plus, and for again, then you say column is equals 0, column is going to be less than 3, and column plus plus. Now all you want to do is echo out the student of row and column, and now let's separate them with commas. Send that, let's save it, let's see how that works. Okay, so Arya, Bangalore 5, Jeet. Okay, so let me just show you another trick. Since we want them in separate lines, all you have to give is a line break. Let's do that. Okay, so now we have these information: Arya, Bangalore 5, Jeet, Chandigarh 8, and Upasana, Mumbai 10. So that's how you cycle through a multi-dimensional array. So we also have some common array functions. So let me just show you them. So integer. So let's say int arrays, and there's going to be an array. Let's say random numbers. So 6, 8, 3, 4, 1, 7, 10. Right. And now we want to sort this array. So all you have to do, say echo and sort whatever array you want to sort. So basically int. So we can't actually echo that out like that. So you say sort int. You say for each, rather, because that's how you cycle through an array. So for each of int as a number, let's print out the number. So echo the number, and you want to space it up with commas, and you want to end that. So our original array is 6, 8, 3, 4, 2, 7, 10, and this should get sorted out. So yep, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 10. So that's one of the functions. So you can say sort numeric or sort strings. Then you can also reverse sort this. So you can say rsort, and this will reverse sort it. And now it's 10, 8, 7, 4, 6, 3, 2. So those are some cool stuff you can do with arrays. Okay, so now let's move on to some common string functions that you might use in PHP. Remove that, remove that. Okay, now let me just create a string. So str equals to, let's put some white spaces into our string and say random string into white space. Yeah, so as you see, this has a lot of white space. Now what if we want to strip down these white spaces? So all you have to do is say echo. You can say strlen. So the name of the string, first of all. So you want to trim everything from this side, so ltrim. So ltrim and name of our string. Okay, so now it gives us the length of our string when its left side has been trimmed. Now let's also trim the right side, rtrim. Okay, so that's what it looks like, and you can just trim out all the white spaces rather. So for that, all you have to say is trim, and that will give us the length of the string without any white spaces. So let's save that. And the length of our string without any white spaces is 29. So from this side there were 3 white spaces, this side has 3 white spaces too, and that's how it's done. Save that, and those are a few of the functions that you can use with trim. Now there's also the printf function, which allows you to print formatted strings to the screen. So let me just show you how to do that too. So let's get that back. Let's remove these. So we can say stuff like printf the random string is, and you use %s out here because we want to print a string, and then the line break, of course, and wherever you want that %s, you just put the name on the string. So this is another way to print out strings. So the random string is random string with white space. So that's how it's done. Now printf is also cool for conversion codes which are with decimals. So let me just show you what I mean. So suppose we had a decimal, let's say decimal equals to 3.141 whatever, and we want to print up to 2 spaces. So for that you could say something like, let's see, number up to 2 decimal spaces. So you say how high a percentage and point to f, because that's the precision that we want. Now you just print out whatever you want where that %f is kept. So we want to print the decimal. So decimal. Let's see. So 3.14. Now if we just change this to f, it will print out everything. And then again, if we would just change it to 0.3f, it will print out 3 decimal spaces. Yep, so that's how it works. Now other conversion codes include, you can use this for binary, B is for binary, then C is for characters, and D is for integers, F is for floating points or doubles as I just showed you, O is for integer to octals, S is for strings, and X is for integers to hexadecimals. Now you can also convert strings to uppercase and lowercase, so let me just show you that. Let's put up a string. So str is, let's say, Arya Paul, that's my name. Now all you want to do is echo str to upper, and then you just specify the string name. So str, I just print that out, so it's all uppercase. Now if this were all uppercase, now you see this has the first letter as uppercase. So now if we were to just say str to lower, so now I'll print everything in lowercase. And you can also do UC first, so that is only the first thing will be uppercase. So UC first. So now that's how it's printed. So let me just show you. Arya Paul is a really chill guy. Now everything will have a first uppercase. So Arya Paul is a really chill guy. Now only the first part of the sentence has an uppercase. So that's how it works. Now you can also turn strings into arrays and vice versa. So let me show you how to do that. So array for strings, you can do the explode method. So explode will take a delimiter, so, and the name of the string. Let's save that. Now let's just print out for each, let's say array for string as elements. We just want to print out the elements, echo elements. Let's just space them out with commas. Let's see, I think I forgot something somewhere. Okay, yep, forgot that. Now we have the string called Paul is a really chill guy, and if you go echo UC first, only the A part will actually be uppercased. So let me just reload that, and now you see Paul is a really chill guy with only A as capital. Okay, so that was all about string functions. Now let's go ahead and compare strings. So first of all, let's create two strings, str1 equals man and str2 equals woman. Let's close them off. Now you can compare two strings with compare functions. So echo strcmp, so str1. So what this will return is actually a positive or a negative number. So if man is greater than woman in length, so let me just show you how that works. Yeah, so it returns -1. So it goes m minus w, a minus o, n minus m, like that. So it returns a positive if string 1 is greater than string 2, and returns a negative if string 1 is less than string 2. So an str compare is also not case sensitive. Okay, so that was all about string functions. You can check out the rest of the string functions of PHP out here. So string functions in PHP, and you can very well go through the documentations. So these are all, there are 94 string functions, and you can compare all of them and go through all of them in the documentation. Now let's just go ahead with functions and end up this video. So for functions, let's see. We have two numbers, num1 equals 7, and okay, wait, let's create our function first. So to create a function, let's say it says sum, takes in two numbers, number 1 and number 2, and it'll return num1 plus num2. And all you have to do is say echo sum 5 comma 7, and that should actually return you 5 plus 7. So yep, that's 12. So this wraps up our PHP tutorial video. In the further videos, I'll show you how to actually connect a MySQL database using PHP.